everybody, so I just wanted to do a quick live stream because there's no better way to do a video on YouTube than to just make it completely random, unscripted, and just do what you're trying to do. So I primarily sell a bunch of stuff on eBay, as a lot of you have seen in my previous YouTube videos. A lot of times I store like a disc-only items, like whether it be video games, audio CDs, movies, and so forth, in these Case Logic binders. And they've been serving me well for several years. But I wanted an easier, not necessarily an easier way, but a better way to store things so I can just grab the item, pack it, and ship it, versus getting the item, retesting it because it's been in the binder for a year, a few months, or whatever the case may be. So here's my process for testing, in this case, PlayStation 2 video games. I got my binder, which I have a bunch of my loose discs in. We're going to grab a game. So I got a game that I'm going to test. But before I test the game, in this case it's a Naruto video game here for the PlayStation 2. This is a disc-only game. What I'm going to do beforehand is I'm going to take this disc and I'm going to put it through my JFJ Easy Pro. So if you're wearing headphones, it might be a good time to take them off because this JFJ can be a little loud, quite audible actually. So I put the disc on, tighten the nut, get my JFJ compound. Now I could use like car polish, which would be significantly cheaper per bottle, but I still tend to use the JFJ compound. Tried and true, right? It works, I use it. And generally what I do is I put it in for a 2-minute spin cycle to try to polish it up to the best of my ability. So that'll take 2 minutes. While it's doing that, let me just quickly show you my desk here. So obviously I got my monitor here, which is just showing the OBS screen. This is my Zebra GX420D thermal printer, which is my primary label printer. It works great. It's either wired via networking or USB cable, like typical home networking, wireless, as well as USB 2.0. And by Wi-Fi, I mean like home networking Wi-Fi or RJ45 cable. Below here, I got a stack of fan-folded labels, which just go through the back and feed through the printer. Over here, I got 3 optical drives, 1, 2, and 3. This is actually my HD DVD optical drive that I got with my Xbox 360 years ago, and it's what I use to rip test all my HD DVD movies. So this disc failed, so what we're going to do is we're going to grab one of the other discs here. So what I'll do generally is I'll polish a bunch of discs, make a little stack, and then I'll bring them up here, put them into one of my optical drives, and this one called Image Burn. So let me just bring that up here quickly. Yeah, close that window. And this is what I use to, let me just get the camera back to facing me here. So Image Burn is a program I use to read the contents of a disc. Like an optical disc, like whether it be a CD, DVD, HD DVD, Blu-ray, whatever the case may be, in order to do a rip test so I can read the contents of said disc on my computer from start to finish. So we got a disc in here. What we're going to do is we are going to just tell it to create an ISO image of this disc. And we're going to select eject disk when it's done. We're going to tell it to replace the file that I've already created for a previous disc. Since I'm only wanting to test the readability of this physical disc, I don't care about storing the digital image of this disc because I don't need it. I just wanted to test the contents of this disc and make sure that disc can actually be read. So this is going to take a few minutes here. So I'm just going to start the other drive up, because I like being able to test multiple disks at the same time. It just saves time overall. Now obviously using 3 USB external drives does slow each other down, because there's only so much physical bandwidth that a USB 2.0 port can have. I do use a USB hub to interconnect everything, which is that guy down there. It's a powered hub, so all the devices are still getting full power, but there's still only so much bandwidth that this device can handle to the computer itself. The computer itself is literally, let me just move my mouse pad here, underneath on the keyboard tray here. This dongle right here is actually what I'm using to capture the video from the PlayStation 2, which you'll see in a minute here. It's just a simple USB 3 to HDMI adapter. It's nothing I would actually want to play a video game on, but it's good enough to do videos like this with. Yeah, that is my kitchen right there. I'm really just doing this on the desk. So generally what I do when I'm testing video games, I go grab a stack of games and I'll start testing. But it's like on the my big screen TV over here, like I'll have a video playing. In this case, I was watching a Mr. Beast video earlier. But what we're going to do is, while it's testing this, is that I'll show you like one of the other it's like, how do I really say this? It's like, let me just show the other image burn screen there. This is the process. The log I like to look at while I'm actually testing the discs, because the log will show you is there going to be errors with a disc. It'll show like a yellow exclamation mark or a red X or something along that lines, saying there's a potential issue with a certain sector of this disc. In which case I would do another buffing around on my JFJ EZ Pro, or if I have to, a sanding of the disc and then another polishing of the disc. But anyway, in the case of like PlayStation 2 games, I literally use, or in this case, I use my green, custom painted green PlayStation 2. I got it painted green because I'm a fan of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. That's going to be seen by my shirt there. But like, my desk is nothing fancy for doing eBay. It's I literally got a monitor, got my thermal printer up here, I got the labels underneath here, I got a barcode scanner, got a roll of tape, I got 3 optical drives, 2 of which are going. I got my Dymos shipping scale. I got my SnapScan S1300. This is what I use to scan the inserts and covers for DVDs, Blu-rays, HD DVDs, and video games. So people can actually see specifics about a game, and it's less questions I generally have to answer. And obviously I got a stack of games which I need to do the rip test and then do a play test on this device here, my PlayStation 2. But yeah, this process does take time and it is a lot of effort, but I find that it's a better overall experience for the customer when I can try to show that I do what I can to try to ensure that the item is actually tested. Like a lot of resellers on eBay, I'm not going to mention any names, but they know who they are, will literally just take like a random disc from their collection, put it into the console, fire it up, and if it starts, it starts. But with me, what I like to do is I like to put the disc through a rip test, because that way it lets me know if there's going to be a potential issue with a certain section of the disc. And when I feel that there's an issue with the disc, I don't want to sell it. I'll put it into a giant, like my lot of defective discs, which I'll literally just auction off starting bid at like $1 type thing. Because who knows, somebody might want to take like all these discs and make a coffee table or a lamp or something cool like that out of them. I still think it'd be kind of cool to have like a take like a sheet of wood, decorate it all nicely, but then glue a bunch of discs down in place, and then put like a clear what is the stuff that's like a poly resin, a resin type mix where you can actually seal the discs still. I think that'd be kind of cool to have. Like if I was at a retail store, I'd have like a island counter type thing with all like wood grain, but like, in the middle would be like all these discs. But anyway, that sound there is just showing that an operation completed successfully for this disc here. So this disc was able to be rip tested with no issues. So let me just go back to OBS so I can actually see what I'm doing. So what we're going to do is we are going to turn off the image burn there. I'm going to open up my PlayStation 2. Put this mountain bike adrenaline game in the PlayStation 2. I'm going to turn on my PlayStation 2, which you should see pop up here momentarily. Right, HDMI capture, right. Okay, so there's my PlayStation 2. And yeah, once I do the rip test on the PC, I'll do a load test on the PlayStation. And the reason for that, the reason why I do a rip test on the PC and a load test is because just because it'll read on the PC with no issues doesn't mean that the console in question will be able to read that disc. I've seen that happen before, and which is why I do both. And again, it's one of those things where it's just, it helps me sleep at night knowing that I'm selling a better quality item than somebody else. In the event of like a bad disc, which I just got one where it failed to do a retest with another on the other drive, I hear,
oh no,
I hear that. And that was for a for Narnia. You probably can't even read that. But this disc failed doing a rip test on my PC. So what I'm going to do with this disc is I'm going to add it to the pile of discs that I'll have to repolish. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take another disc or two more discs, put them into the optical drives again, delete that previous image, and I'm going to start rip testing two more games. So like when you see the log files, occasionally you'll see like a yellow triangle, which means that it's retrying a failed sector of the disk. You know, an X means it couldn't read the sector. Blue is generally good. So anyway, I'm just going to select all, delete, and we're going to do it for the next disk here. Tell it to eject the tray when it's done. On the other instance of image burn I have running, I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm ripping two more games. Oh, I'm going to grab my controller here, and I'm just going to try to play a quick game. You know, make sure I can actually go into the game. Just because it can read the disc on my PC doesn't mean that the console itself can actually read that disc. So I like to do the rip test, and then I like to put it into the console and do a quick play test. A lot of people will just take the disc, put it in their console, and if they see the main screen, they'll call it tested, when that's not going to be the case. Just because you can see the loading screen doesn't mean you can actually get into the main level, the first level of the game. Now, obviously, I can't play every single game throughout. I have way too many games to do that, but I can at least do what I can to try to make sure that the items I'm selling are working. That's just the puppy snoring. And I'm apparently going the wrong direction. So anyway, this game I'm going to call tested. So what I generally do after I do a quick load test, so I'll turn the system off. I like to take the disc out, and I'm putting them into these white CD sleeves. And then what I do is I take a label similar to this one here, and I'll date it. This is when I rip tested it. So today was it April 13th? So 04132022. I'm using a Sharpie to write this down. I'm not using a ballpoint pen or anything. I'm going to add this disc to the pile of games I've actually tested already. So today's been a busy day. I started taking my discs out and testing them from that binder and putting them into this box. This box is pretty much just the loose PlayStation 2 games I have. It's size-wise, it's pretty darn good. And Alright, so another disc just completed. So I am using like sheets of cardboard that I cut up from like scrap cardboard, and I put like A to Z, and I'm separating all the games by their starting name. So like Da Vinci Code, since it's the Da Vinci Code, I'm just using Da Vinci, so it'll be under D. Madden, they'll be under M, and so forth and so forth. So these are all the games I've tested. They're all stored in their own little paper sleeves to better help better protect them. Alright, so that disc, one of these other games, just finished completed testing, so I'm going to wait for it to be spit out. Alright, that was the F drive, so let's be the top one. And this is ATV Off-Road Fury. Sorry, I've been doing this all day, I'm a little exhausted. Put the disc in, close the tray, restart the console, and you should see it pop up here in a moment here. I do apologize for the poor quality of this video. My internet connection is not the fastest by any means. And while we're waiting for this game to load, we're just